So the measurement and the dimension of the cuff is slightly bigger than the smaller than the sleeve. So if you see the sleeve, you have little extra. So that little extra is so that you can make a pleat over here. We are doing a rectangular cuff. The dimensions are 2.5 inch is the width and length is 10.5 inch. 10.5 by 2.5. So whichever shape of the cuff you have, you can use that. Whatever measurements you have, yeah, actually you guys have your own sleeve pattern and a cuff pattern. So probably you use the same measurement as you have. I'm using it according to my sleeve pattern. You use what you have. So just telling you for your information. Now we are going to cut it. So for the fusing part, you don't have to um, cut it exactly. Let me let me cut it in two parts. Will be easier. So the first thing is to take the fusing and iron it, put it on. After ironing, you can cut the edges and make it ready. Rather than cutting it before, it's a better idea to first fuse it and then cut it. The gray line follows as it is there in your pattern along the length. So let me iron it. So we have two pieces ready, one with fusing, one without fusing, and now we will do the stitching. Whatever shape you have, you can just follow that. That's not an issue. So now the first thing what we do is we put the one without fusing, we put it aside. One with the fusing, what you need to do is you need to fold it any of one side. You need to fold the longer side and you need to iron it. Now we are ready to stitch. So the first stitch we do is at the quarter inch from this edge, which we have ironed. Quarter inch from this edge is an edge stitch. So that this is 3 by 8. Once you stitch on quarter inch, this seam allowance gets locked. If you want, you can draw a small line with pencil before stitching if you're not very confident about it. So we got a stitch at quarter inch, almost at quarter inch, and it locks the seam allowance inside. And now we are going to um, bring the second piece and uh, we are going to put face to face facing each other. So if this is the top part of the fabric and if this is the top part of the fabric, I have done marking on inside. What you do is you put them together, right side touching each other and putting it like this where the seam allowance folded part, uh, you can see the seam allowance of the behind one. Put them together like this and now we're going to stitch it. So we will start from one end, go, do the corner well, come straight down to the other corner and then go up and finish it. So our cuff construction will be done and then we will um, attach it to the sleeve. So let's do that. You can pin these two together for stitching if you want to. If you feel that they will move, you can put few pins also. Start from the bar tack over here, back tack. Keep removing the pins as you proceed. Do you guys know how to do the corner using a thread?
No, sir.
No, sir.
No, sir.
You not learned how to finish a corner? Oh, okay. Okay, let me show it to you then. Give me a sec. I'll have to bring the thread. What you do is when you're about to reach at the corner, you stop, slow down, and you stop it almost at the corner. Probably one stitch before the corner, you stop it. And then you need to take a thread, put it in between these two fabrics. Put in between two fabrics and lift the footer when the needle is inside. Take the thread, put it between these two layers and push it behind the needle. So now basically your thread is touching the needle right now. And then you put the pressure footer down and you do one stitch next which you do. What it will do is it will lock that thread inside. So the thread is locked inside now. And now once the needle is again inside, you need to lift up the footer, take the end which is outside, one thread is inside. Now the thread which is outside, rotate it, rotate it, and put the other end also inside in between these two layers. And now once that is done, you can rotate your cuff and continue stitching. So you will have two ends inside, both of them. You can see them here. And now let's continue stitching. And when you're doing this stitching, you will have a fusing over here, and actual fusing, the woven fusing is pretty thick, so we don't stitch right on the edge. We stitch it like half a millimeter away from that fusing so that it gets a little space to fold. So time for another corner. Okay, let me do with a dark color. So take a thread, double it for little strength, two threads, When you are almost at the corner, put the needle inside, slide this thread one between two layers, one behind the needle. These two. Put the fruiter down, do one stitch, and when the needle is inside, lift the footer, take the outer one, put it next to with the one which is inside. So now both of them are here, and put the footer down, and you can turn the cuff and continue stitching. And make sure to do a back tack where it is this cuff is this layer is ending. So now you can see there is a thread inside here, and this side we have a tiny wire over there. So now before you turn it, you will have to cut it. The seam allowance is 3 by 8 right now. We reduce it to quarter inch. And the stitch which I was talking about is usually done slightly half a millimeter away from the fusing. So let's first cut it. Make the seam allowance quarter inch. And then before you turn it, now is the time to cut the corner. So take the corner and slice it, leaving little gap over there, probably 2 millimeter and 2 millimeter. And now when it's time to fold, how you fold is also a specific way. Put your thumbs inside. This seam allowance needs to be folded like this towards the fusing part. So the fuse part, you fold it like this and then you turn it out for the better result. Otherwise, you can do it anyhow without this also. And when you pull this thread, you see that the corner comes out and you get a very sharp corner, and then you can just remove the thread. Let's do this on the other side. Fold the corners and the thread did much better job. So you get a cuff like this, and now we are going to iron it before we can stitch it, because wherever there is a fusing, we need to iron at every step. So when we iron it, make sure that it's not ironed like this. It should be ironed equally like this. And this folding, you will get a lot of help if you stitch little away from the fusing, the inside stitch. So iron it properly and then we do the next step. Now this is ready to be attached. Let's bring the sleeve. Now is the time to check how big pleat you need. So this is the sleeve and the cuff is smaller than the sleeve. So you can check it now or you can check it after stitching the inseam also. Let me check it now. I will measure it. I can just put it and check. So the sleeve is almost 2 inches bigger. So I can make two pleats of 1 inch each. And right now I will make the pleat, put it with pins, and then later on, when we stitch the cuff, when we stitch it, we will adjust to make it perfect. So where we put the pleats is uh, the bigger placket next to that and facing the placket. So it's like how this is folding. You need to take and then fold like this. So it different people do it differently. You can end it 1 inch away the first pleat. So 1 inch away, 1 inch pleat. So when you fold it, it becomes half-inch pleat. Take a pin, pin it, then the next pleat can be much closer also or smaller also. Some people do the first pleat bigger, second pleat smaller. So right now we are just putting pin, and once the sleeve inseam is stitched, we will check it again. So now this is ready. What you do is um, put the sleeve seam together like this, and we are going to do a stitch over here, and then it is ready to be attached to the cuff. once the sleeve is stitched, you need to turn it very gently, turn it out to check the cuff. So now we will check how the cuff is fitting onto the sleeve. So this is the right side. The fusing part is the right side. So you can put it inside and check it, or you can just check it like this. Slightly bigger, very slightly. So I'm going to make the pleat slightly bigger. So though you can measure and do it, but when we are stitching, because of stitching, things move slightly here and there. So you can put it here and check it actually, and perfect. Perfectly fitting in, fusing side on the top. So now what we are going to do is we are going to stitch it. How we are going to stitch it is we will cut the seam allowance equal to what we have in this one. So what you do is the face on the top, this is how it has to be stitched first. Hold the edges with seam allowance outside. Once this is stitched, we are going to put it inside. So what you do is put it like this, and now we will do a stitch right at this edge. You already have an edge over here. Do a stitch on this edge, holding the sleeve here. So let's do it. When you're doing this, make sure that sleeve part does not go out. Sleeve part should be slightly inside, like half a millimeter inside, because this has to go inside later on. So this is called stitch in the ditch. I'm removing the pin of the pleat. And make sure you don't stretch the sleeve part, because sleeve part can stretch, but the fusing cannot stretch. So do it gently. While ending, also make sure that the sleeve part is slightly half a millimeter inside. A half a millimeter adjustment you can always do. So we have stitched this. This is the right side of the sleeve. This is the right side. We stitched it together. Now is the time to put the seam allowance inside. In the cuff. Put all of it inside the cuff. And then now it's ready to be stitched. So the last stitch is little longer, completing all the edges. If you want, you can iron at this stage. So the last stitch is going to be, it will start um, at one here at behind. The smaller placket is where you should start your last stitch, because the bar tag will not be visible outside when somebody is wearing it. So you start it here, you go all around, edge stitch, come slightly back, sorry, you go all around till the end, and then come quarter-inch back from that edge, and then do a quarter-inch edge stitch all around and come back to where you started and do a bar tack and stop it. So bar tack will be only at this edge. I will draw it and show it to you later on how we are going to stitch, how we have stitched it. And when you're stitching it, make sure that you cover the stitch which is already done. Okay, this is too thick for this machine. Once you go at the edge, you need to walk back 2 3 steps and then turn it so that you now stitch on the edge on the 1/4 inch edge. It's not stitching. And get over. Reach almost at the corner, turn it. We are doing the 1/4 inch edge stitch. Once you are again 1/4 inch away, turn it. And finish it with a back tack. And this machine is not really behaving very well, but somehow manageable demo. So we started here. We started here, went all the way. No, we started at the smaller placket actually. We went all the way till the end. Come back 1/4 inch, go all around 1/4 inch, go up, do a bar tack, and finish it. So once you do this, the sleeve is ready. This is the bigger placket. That's a smaller placket. It overlaps, and you have a button over here.